Welcome into a very special Birds Huddle schedule release stream. I am Taryn Hatcher. I am joined by Barrett Brooks. And Barrett, we had pieces of the schedule before. Now we have the whole thing. And we know that it starts with the Eagles visiting the Patriots on the Tom Brady day. The Birds are not the Birds. The Patriots are honoring Tom Brady on that day. Not to mention that the Patriots will also have Juju Smith-Schuster in Foxborough on that day, which I would imagine gives the Eagles some added motivation heading into that one, as if TB12 didn't already enough.
Absolutely.
Juju talked a whole lot of mess after the Super Bowl.
And it's going to lead to the Eagles' victory. When I look at that matchup, Bradbury still has a nasty taste in his mouth from the way things went, the fake hold. I mean, you said he hold, but it's all fair in war. You know what I'm saying? And that's what was going on. It was a bad call. But at the end of the day, Chiefs won. Juju was there. Then he went out and started talking stuff. See, that's when you write a check that your butt can't cash. And that's exactly what's going to go on. You think, Matt, you had the best quarterback in the league at that point throwing to you, Patrick Mahomes. Patty's not going to be there. Now you got Mac Jones. Even though you got a new offensive coordinator with that Patriots team, they're still not going to be up to the level of even getting close to beating this Eagles team. So I think this is going to be a blowout. Start the season on a good note with a W, and we get our vindication from Juju Smith-Schuster.
Smith-Schuster.
All right. Yeah.
Juju. My question to you as well is, when Juju was talking all that noise, I believe it was AJ Brown, right, who tweeted back at him and said, listen, calm down. Basically, Patrick Mahomes resurrected your career. Now you got Juju Mac Jones, which is not at all a Patrick Mahomes tiered quarterback. What are you expecting out of this Patriots team? And what are you expecting out of this Eagles team with a whole bunch of new faces on the coaching staff?
I think he definitely got paid, though, but he got paid from what his quarterback led him to go out there and do. So at this point, he doesn't have Patrick Mahomes now. So it's going to be a long day for Mr. Schuster. 1-on-1 against Bradbury. This is going to be a match made in heaven for Bradbury because he's slow. You know, Bradbury is going to make sure that he pays for everything and all the antics he had in the offseason.
All right, let's talk about a week 2 matchup that is giving me deja vu of sorts, because the Eagles are hosting the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. Now, last year, the Eagles hosted the Vikings week 2 on Monday Night Football, and Mr. Prime Time, Kirk Cousins, who cannot deal apparently with some schedule changes that come with playing in prime time, he didn't look great, especially against that Eagles pass rush that absolutely feasted on him. Now Kirk has to come back to Philly again, where the Vikings got demolished in primetime week 2 last year, and he's got to do it on Thursday here in South Philadelphia in primetime. Barrett, what are you expecting?
Well, primetime is just not where Kirk Cousins plays well. He's one of those guys that he needs things status quo. He wants to play on every Sunday at 1 o'clock, and that's when he has his best results. He definitely plays better when he's in that 1 o'clock slot. But we got him on a Thursday night, and this is the second week of the season. We played him on the second week of the season last year. This is also going to be a great game for this Eagles defense, although the defense of the Vikings will be pretty good now. They got Brian Flores as their new defensive coordinator, so they'll be able to play a little bit, but they lost some players. They've lost Patrick Peterson. So, at this point, this is going to be also an Eagles victory, simply because we're just a better team. I look at the matchup. They have one of the better offensive lines in the league, but I think we really went out there and got better on the defensive line. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, be able to heat them up a little bit and stop the run with the addition of Jalen Carter being in the middle of that defense also. So I think this is an Eagles victory. Eagles are 2-0 at this point.
Do you think Sean Desai looked at this schedule release and thought, I got to write the scheduling committee a little thank you for putting Kirk in week number 2. Hopefully it can show what I can do here in prime time in week 2.
Well, you know what? I would say that, but, he still got people they got to deal with. They got Justin Jefferson, and they just got Jordan Addison, a really big receiver, from TCU. Not TCU. He went to where did Jordan Addison? He went to USC. Big receiver, fast. He could potentially be a problem for him. I think he started out at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. So they'll have their hands full. He's supposed to be the yin to Jefferson Yang, and this will be a great matchup. And they still got some guys running the ball for him. So, and Cook. So at this point, I still see it as a victory, but they will have their work cut out for them, especially on the defensive side of the ball with Brian Flores being the new defensive coordinator.
All right, so now week 3 is a little bit more of an unknown than week 2 kind of gives us shades of week 2 last year. Eagles at Bucks in week 3 in the post-Tom Brady era. Tampa rolling with Baker Mayfield now. What are your thoughts as you look at this matchup with the Buccaneers team that really, I mean, obviously when it comes to its quarterback situation, going to look a little different this year?
Just like you said, Baker Mayfield's their quarterback. They didn't get any better. Tom is not there. The offensive line lost a lot. They lost their starting guard. I don't see them as a team that's really going to be able to compete. This will be where the Eagles really get back to them. And even though it's going to be away, it's going to be in Tampa this year. And, you got the pirate ship and everything. Some of the best grass I ever played on was there. Really great field. I think they finally get back and beat up on this Bucks team, the way, they've been kind of chastised the last couple of years they've played down there. So this will be a vengeance game for this Eagles team against a Bucks team.
All right. So far, so good based on what you're seeing on the
3-0.
schedule.
3-0.
Now we move into the NFC East. Birds host the Commanders. Sam Howell, kind of the big question mark there. Is he really the guy for Washington as the Eagles see their first NFC East opponent of the season in week 4?
I think Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback. Sam Howell's just a young guy, and you got a veteran in Jacoby. They've got, a new offensive coordinator there, Eric Bieniemy. EB's a great coach, and he really is going to go out there and show that, it wasn't just Andy calling those plays back with the Chiefs. It was Eric Bieniemy out there also calling plays and making sure. And he helped this young quarterback and Patrick Mahomes flourish into one of, if not the number one quarterback in the league. So I think Bieniemy has something to prove. They just won't be able to do it against this Eagles team. I think the Eagles team has gotten better because they can stop the run now. They no longer have Hargraves in there. Hargraves is a great pass rusher. He did, he could get up the field and rush the passer, but he just was not a run stopper. I saw a lot of times he would get double team, put on his back, one-on-one blocks and run plays. He just wasn't a run defender. Jalen Carter's a run defender now. I think Davis comes out of his shell, becomes a run defender. I think they'll play against the run better, and that's what they do is to set up that offense. This will be another victory for the Eagles, 4-0 going into week 5.
Do you think now that the Commanders have rid themselves of the Snyder of it all, that team, based on their personnel and their change, they say the fish rots from the top of the head or whatever the phrase is.
Absolutely. It goes downhill, put it like that.
Yeah. Do you think that they're on the up and up as an organization on the whole now that they're getting out from all of the distractions that came with the Snyder era of the Washington Commanders?
It was a bad seed. It was a bad situation, and when you have an ownership with the level of non-committal to wanting to be an excellent team, then, you're going to get those type of games. You're going to get those type of ways in which they played. With new ownership, I think it's only going to help the NFC East because I think the Washington football team will be a good team. The Commanders will be a better team before. They just don't have the capacity to beat up on the Eagles team. This Eagles team is a complete team. And like I said, I'm on the bandwagon. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid because it's deservedly so. Howie had a great draft. He had a great free agents period. He brought in teams. We brought in guys from teams that, are pretty good. The mere fact we got Swift here from the Lions, who really ran well against us. So this is just one of those instances where we just have a more superior team. And coaching wise, I think they'll stay at a high level. Even they lost their coordinators. I think the side coming in defensive coordinator, will be okay. And we already know Brian Johnson will definitely be a great addition because he already knows Jalen. Jalen know him very well, and he's been here for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, some aspect of consistency. All right, as Barrett mentioned, heading into week 5 now, he has the Birds at 4-0 as the Eagles make their first West Coast trip to visit the Rams. Now, the Rams, it's so crazy to believe they're only 15 months removed from winning the Super Bowl in 2022. They've got the 9th longest odds to win the title this season. The NFC overall, not wildly strong as a conference this year again, Barrett, but the Rams, where would you put them in terms of the tier system of the NFC?
I'm still saying it's going to be a victory for the Eagles team, but it's going to be something that's going to be a hard-fought game. Matthew Stafford is still their quarterback. If he's healthy, he can really, really be productive. Their offensive line has been a great issue for them. If they haven't gotten better, it'll be a long year once again for Matthew Stafford. They have a pretty good tight end in Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp is still their guy. He is still there, still one of the most dynamic wide receivers in the league. Give him a little help, he can definitely go out there and be one of the top receivers in this league. But he won't be able to do anything if that offensive line did not get better. And I don't think they did enough to get better. Joe Notebaum is still the starting left tackle. He was okay. He didn't get better towards the end of the year. In fact, he kind of leveled off and played bad at times. And, at times he played good enough that they could win. But I just don't think that offensive line is good enough. On the defensive side of the ball, they still have a lot to be desired. Yes, they still had Aaron Donald. He's still that guy. But they were able to double team because they didn't have enough on the outside to, take away from the pressure of double teaming him. There's no heat on the outside of creating pressure. So everything has to come from Aaron Donald. And you saw that we could double team and triple team him and really make him not effective against this offensive line. We still have the best offensive line in the league. And I think they'll show it, especially against a guy like Aaron Donald.
All right, so let's move right along. Week 6, man, another big QB shakeup. Eagles visiting the Jets. Now, obviously, the Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers, who's been on kind of a scouting spree, trying to bring guys over to the Jets, it seems, all offseason, even before he signed. But are you buying the hype? Have the Jets finally found themselves a quarterback that can kind of rid them of the evil of the Jets quarterback of yesteryear for, it seems like, so many years now?
Well, this is going to be a tough one because I think one of these two games that we're going to talk about, the next two games, are going to be a game that the Eagles might lose. And the Jets, they were a quarterback away from being a very good team. In fact, I think they'll be heads in their division, even above the Buffalo Bills. So when I look at this team, I like what they put together. They got a pretty good offensive line. If they can go out there and solidify themselves on the right tackle position, right now, Max Mitchell hasn't been playing up to what we thought he was going to play 2 years ago, but he's okay. Dwayne Brown is still an old man, coming from Seattle. He's going to start again, which is kind of shocking to me, but I mean, he's still that guy there. So, but on the offensive side of the ball, we're talking about Nathaniel Hackett, who's, A-Rod's, ace in the hole, his right-hand man is the offensive coordinator. He has plenty of weapons. He brought over Anna Lazard from Green Bay. I think McCole Hardman, one of the fastest guys in the league, 4.3 guy coming from Kansas. He was in Kansas City 2 years ago, really couldn't get off to a great start, but now he'd be back with a quarterback that could throw to him, an A-Rod. Garrett Wilson, number 1 pick last year. This is second year in this system. He's only going to get better. And, Corey Davis is one of the better guys in the league as far as being one of those Debo type of receivers, the big receivers that can run and play possession football. The big thing on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to be good. I mean, C.J. Mosley is still one of the premier inside linebackers in the league. This is going to be a complete team with the defense playing at a high level and the offense finally getting up to par with the defense. I think they go ahead and they sneak this one out. Even though they're playing the Jets at home, they just don't lose to the Jets. I mean, that's just something that, they just don't do. We have yet to lose to the Jets. So, yes, they beat A-Rod, and he doesn't change the outcome of us playing the Jets, even if we're playing them at home.
So now you're at 6-0 on the schedule.
Absolutely.
Now, this is what scares me, and I think you kind of alluded to this in what you were saying with the Jets. You might have to empty the tank a little bit because this Jets team, as you mentioned, was just a quarterback away, and then they went and got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, and then you come back down the turnpike to South Philadelphia, where you host the Dolphins, who could give you fits of sorts, potentially, and it's that matchup of Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, who played together at Alabama. It's the first time they're going to play each other since Hurts was benched for Tua back at halftime of that 2018 National Championship game. Does this week 7, given what's before it, concern you at all, or vice versa, kind of the combination of these 2 weeks? Because it seems like it's a little bit of a sketchy skid there.
I just think that this will be the first game, even though it's at home, that they might not be able to get up again and play at that high level against this Miami Dolphins team. This is going to be, I think, their first loss. They're going to be 7-1 after this game. And it's more so because of, defensively, they got Vic Fangio down there. He's going to call a better defense. This defense was already pretty good. I like the cornerbacks. Jalen Ramsey is now a Dolphin. You know what I'm saying? So they can, they got Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey at the cornerback position. That's pretty good. And up front, they can already rush the passer with Phillips coming from Miami, his third year from Miami, So this is a team in which I think they give the Eagles their first loss. The offensive line is really good, and they got a pretty good running game. So, Raheem Mostert, former Eagle, started his rookie year out with the Eagles. He's going to run well against his defense, and this will be our first loss. So I say the Miami Dolphins give the Eagles their first loss of the season. They leave there 6-1.
6-1,
yeah, 6-1.
I think if it's not the Dolphins, maybe it's flipped. If they lose to the Jets, I think they get extra hype for the Dolphins, but it's those two together. And then the Eagles visit the Commanders again. So that's when they'll wrap up their slate against Washington. Jalen Hurts, he's 2-0 in his career at FedEx Field. Also had to dodge that collapsed railing at FedEx Field. What are you anticipating this second time around? Because you mentioned it's a couple tough weeks against the AFC, and then you're back in the division, not just the NFC, but the NFC East for your next 2 games, week 8 and week 9. Right now, we're just looking at the Commanders, though.
By this time, they'll get their quarterback situation kind of taken care of, and Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback. I think Brian Robinson will start running the ball a little better, and they had 3 good receivers in Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and Curtis Samuel. Those 3 play well together. They'll be good, but I think they don't have enough to beat the Eagles. This is the first time in a long time they sweep the Commanders, and we win this game and go into the, going out of that bad loss to the Dolphins, and they're 7-1 now.
All right. So week 9, you just got to get through this one, and then you're looking at a week 10 bye. And naturally, it's against the Cowboys. Trade for Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, released Ezekiel Elliott. Do you think the Cowboys took that next step to improvement, or you feeling like they're essentially similar to where they've been?
I think they're similar to where they've been, and I think the Eagles have taken that next step to be the big dogs in this division. It's not even going to be close this year. I really think this is where you look at this Dallas team and Dak Prescott becomes vulnerable. He's finally going to lose against this Eagles team. He's had great success when Eagles haven't beaten him when he's been a starting quarterback. This is the time, this game, where they show that, hey, we are the superior team. We got them at home, and they beat Dak Prescott on the field for the first time. And they go in and start with one of 2 wins for the Eagles against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm already precluding for later on in the season. But, yes, they have a victory against Dak Prescott at week 9 of the season. There, you heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Okay, now week 10 is the bye, which I do still want to ask you about, even though there's no opponent that week. At this point, you have them at 8-1 at the bye. And as we've mentioned a couple of times now, your month before that bye, 2 tough AFC opponents and then 2 NFC East opponents. Where did you like that bye week being as a player? Is week 10 kind of a nice sweet spot? Because now you're basically 2/3 through the season.
That's a perfect place for them to be at. It's kind of, halfway through the season. It's a little over halfway through the season. That's when, they played a tough Cowboy game at home. They're going to get a little rest. They need a little rest. It's going to be a tough physical game against this Cowboy team. War of attrition is starting to take effect, because they're reaching, the 10th week of the season. So this is where you need that break, the little hiatus, get guys away from the game a little bit, let them decompress, get back into the mindset that they have a long road still to go, and be ready to get back into this next slate of games.
All right, well, the next slate of games, you got 3 weeks rewards after the buys in the form of the Chiefs, the Bills, and then the 49ers. And their bye week, it's kind of a bye plus a day because week 11, they're back to work in Kansas City against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, the Super Bowl rematch. What are you expecting, Barrett? The Birds should be somewhat fresh in prime time with plenty of demons to exercise going into Arrowhead Stadium.
No question. They're going to be on a fast field. I played in Arrowhead Stadium before. It's a really, really great place to play. It's probably the loudest outdoor stadium you'll play in. I can remember, and the home of the Chiefs, and it just rumbles. The whole stadium rumbles. So they'll be ready to play. Big Red owes us one. There's a lot of built-up fieldings that they're going to, go out there and implant into that field and really making sure they beat up on Andy Reid and that offense and that defense. Defensively, we got a lot to prove because we let Big Red's offense in the second half just take over the game. No more. This game's going to be a total just, different game than we saw in the Super Bowl. The surface, there will be no room for, saying, oh, I slipped and all this and all that. It'll just be a great game with two teams going against each other who locked up in the Super Bowl. This is the rematch. You know what I'm saying? This is where they got to go. They got to show that they are not just a good team in the NFL, but if they beat this Chiefs team, they'll be an elite team in the NFL. And I guess you guys would think that I would say it was going to be a loss. No, I have a loss down. They're going to beat the Chiefs. So let me change this up. They're going to beat Big Red and the Chiefs, you know what I'm saying? So I looked too fast. Chiefs, if they win against the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium, week 11. Put your money on it.
Okay, so this is what scares me now. I mean, the AFC on this schedule is really just brutal. We talked before the bye about it being the Jets and then the Dolphins, and the Dolphins could be the beneficiary of having it scheduled that way. When you look after the bye, it's the Chiefs, and then 1 week later on a short week because it's Monday Night Football, the Eagles face the Bills. How do you look at that one considering, they had the bye week. It feels like at the Chiefs, they're going to empty a lot of the tank emotionally. And then you turn around because it's Monday Night Football. You have a shortened week to prepare for Josh Allen and the Bills.
And I think that's one of the shortcomings that comes with playing on a Monday night. You get 1 day less to prepare for the opponent going up. And it just so happened to have a pretty good team against the Bills, in which they're playing the Bills. They're playing the Bills at home. But I still have slated as a loss for this Eagles team. They're going to lose to the Bills, and I hate that. Josh Allen is going to come out to have a great game. He's going to change up how he plays a little bit, and it just go happen that they're going to unleash everything emotionally, physically against this Chiefs team to win. They're going to win, but then it's going to be a little bit of a layoff against a Bills team that has a lot to prove this year, and this will be how they jumpstart their season and getting going in the right direction by beating on the second place team in the NFL last year.
All right, so now we're going to skeet skirt over back into the NFC. Week 13, Eagles, Niners. They get their rematch.
I marked it on my calendar.
No whining, no whinging heading into this one. I know the Niners had 1,001 excuses. They said weren't excuses after they got obliterated in the NFC Championship game last year. Now the Eagles have a chance. They'll host them once again and see what this Niners team can do, hopefully this time with far less excuses to boot.
Well, man, they can cry me a river. Say what you want to say. They got beat up by a superior Eagles team. They want to say, oh, we're just a quarterback away. We were, 10 against 11. That's your fault. That's your GM not being prepared to bring in a second-team quarterback that was good enough to play against this Eagles team. The Eagles will beat up on this 49 team because a lot of bad blood that went on with this, with this game and, how the game ended. I don't want to hear all that. You had ample opportunity to go out there and get you another second-team quarterback. Right now you're saying Brock Purdy's your guy. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is your guy. Well, you can keep your guy. We'll just put him out again next year. I hope that, your second name was Sam Darnold, your backup quarterback at this point. Yeah, Sam Darnold, your backup quarterback. Well, hey, I used to talk to Seth all the time. He said when they played the game, they wanted to see how your second team quarterback played. Same thing here. We're going to see how Sam Darnold plays because Brock Purdy, you'll be knocked out again. Your offensive line is not good enough to block anybody on our defensive line. This will be a great, great win for this Eagles team. Just flexing and going back out there and beating up on them again. Yes, they got a pretty good team. I like what they have the running back position. Christian McCaffrey's a great running back. George Kittles is a great tight end. Debo Samuels is a good player. Brandon Ayuk's a good player, but we just have too much from the defensive side of the ball with the cornerbacks we have, the safety and up-and-coming safety that we have going on. This will be a great game. It's going to be a war of attrition. We beat up on the 49ers again, beat them convincingly again.
Brandon Ayuk, a good player, but an even better whiner on podcasts.
Absolutely.
Following the NFC Championship game. Trey Lance also in that quarterback mix of never-ending.
He won't be there.
String of quarterbacks.
Yeah, he
the
won't
Niners
be there.
seem to have.
They'll trade him before he gets to that point.
All right. After you get through the Niners, you got to go on to Jerry's world. Eagles at Cowboys, Week 14. Cowboys fired Kellen Moore. Now Mike McCarthy's calling plays for Dallas. Do you think that's a good thing for the Eagles or a good thing for the Cowboys? Or what do you think about the Mike McCarthy of it all?
Sweep. They sweep this year with Dak Prescott playing quarterback. They sweep the Eagles. They sweep the Cowboys. Cowboys sweep the Eagles. The Eagles sweep the Cowboys. Yeah, what am I thinking about? The Eagles will sweep the Cowboys. The first time Dak Prescott loses twice to an Eagles team. Yes, put your money on it. I cannot believe we have not beat him with him being at the helm at the quarterback position. This is the first time that we take dominance in this division and sweep the Commanders, sweep the Cowboys, and we'll get to the Giants when we get there in the second half of this schedule.
So I believe you have us at 11-2 coming out of Week 14. So let's move right along. The Eagles going up to the Pacific Northwest, checking out the Seahawks. They're committed to Geno Smith after a surprising 2022 season for him. 3 years, $40 million for Geno. Anything to worry about for the Birds, the Seahawks? Nothing tremendous to talk about from them last year, but Geno Smith resurrecting his career certainly was something of note here.
Oh, I hate to say it, Eagles fans, but this might be another loss going up to the Pacific West, Northwest, and going over to, you just had two, stellar games against the Cowboys and the 49ers. And, I think that's a lot of up and down as far as emotions going into this game, third game of the year. Third game after playing those two teams hard. The war of attrition starts to take a little bit of a toll on them. And they might lose against this Seattle Seahawks team. So I'm going to go with Seattle with the win. I like what they have the running back position also with Kenneth Walker III. Two great receivers, DK Metcalf and Kansas State's own Tyler Lockett. Their defense got a lot better, especially through the draft. They got, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois. I thought he was a great pickup for them, somebody that they needed. So this will be a game where I really think that the Eagles might lose this game simply from the war of attrition of playing two tough physical teams in the 49ers and the Cowboys.
Where do you think the Seahawks kind of fall in the landscape of the NFC this coming season? Are they sort of that at the bottom of the top tier, middle tier, or are they working their way out of
They're a middle tier team. They're a middle tier team. They're gonna make it easier for us to beat up on the 49ers. But that's going to be between the Seahawks and the 49ers in that division to see who leaves that division and wins that division going into the playoffs.
All right, so let's move right along. So the Eagles, we've gotten all the way to Week 16, and they finally see the Giants. They're going to see the Giants twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. The big news this offseason, Daniel Jones gets paid $92 million guaranteed. Do you believe that the Giants, because now as you mentioned, you have the Eagles sweeping Washington and Dallas. Do you think that the Giants are really going to be formidable contenders in the NFC East then, or is it just kind of all about the Eagles and it's their division to lose?
It's their division to lose. The Eagles' division to lose. Although when you look at their team did get better, but did they win the arms race against the Eagles? No, they didn't. They didn't get better. Daniel Jones, I think he kind of plateaued to where he is as a quarterback in the league, and they paid him a whole lot of money, which is going to handcuff him or bringing in free agents. They got a disgruntled employee with Saquon Barkley. They did go out and get Darren Waller from the 49. I mean, from the Raiders.
Yeah.
Pretty good guy, but he can't stay healthy. Isaiah Hodgkins, they like him, but is he a premier receiver? We'll see. I think he's just a guy that caught lightning in a bottle. Darius Slayton is still there. He's pretty good. I like their tackles, and then, Evan Neal is the second year in being in the league, so he'll get better. Andrew Thomas is still a good player. They went out and upgraded their offensive line, bringing in John Michael Schmitz Jr. from the Minnesota Gophers. Pretty good center, but he's a rookie. He's going to have to, pay his dues against Big Davis and those guys. So offensively, they're going to be okay, because we understand that Brian Dable's a good, play caller.
Yeah.
And Mike Catt's a good play caller. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're going to be okay. Deonte Banks, cornerback from Maryland, he's an upgrade from what they had. Other than that, I just think they're going to be okay on the defensive side of the ball. We'll be better. Thibodeau, second year in the league, he'll be okay. But I think, we got the best tackles in the league, so they'll shut him down. But it's a win. Eagles win against the Giants. And, we still got Boston Scott. So if all else fails, put out Boston Scott.
All right. I want to move right along to week 17, just because we're going to be able to revisit the Giants in week 18. It is the return of Jonathan Gannon. Eagles host the Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon, of course, Eagles former defensive coordinator, now head coach of the Cardinals. He returns to Philly after that Super Bowl meltdown, the tampering settlement. He's had some things to say since getting that head coaching job out in Arizona. I think we know what his reception is going to be. What do you think the Eagles' reception is going to be, the actual team?
Total annihilation. They're going to beat him like he stole something.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't talk stuff and leave us and then to start talking. You should have did what you did when you first left. You were quiet and didn't say anything, but now you're going to start backtracking and talking more. This is where, we want to take it out on this Cardinals team. They already suck, but come on now. You're going to come back with a team that, you can't handle what the Eagles are going to put on you. You just know it's going to be a bad, bad day for Cardinals fans up here, week 17, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to make sure they break Murray in half just because their head coach talked too much and said too much about this team. And then the way they lost the game in the Super Bowl in the second half where his defense couldn't stop anybody, they're thinking like maybe he didn't put us in the best position to be successful. He didn't ride the plane with us. He stayed there, took the job. Then we found out illegal tampering. Yes, this defense has something to say. They're going to say it in a bad way to this Giants team and this Giants quarterback. I mean, this Cardinals team and this Cardinals head coach. Gannon, you will get busted up this game. Trust me. You better not go out. You better stay in your hotel room because Eagles fans are going to let you know you did us wrong. You did us bad. We could have won that game if it wasn't for you. So, yeah, Gannon, you got a problem. You bring your Cardinals team up here, we're going to make sure we plaster them.
It's going to have to find tornado shelter bunker to hide in. All right, so week 18, we're wrapping up the season. Eagles visiting the Giants. At this point, Barrett, you have them 13-3. Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year in 2022. Two-part question here. One, would you rest starters here at 13-3?
Yes.
Okay. And two, do you think the Giants are taking that step towards being legit?
They put it like this. They are a good team. And because they're a good team, they might beat this Eagles team this last game. Simply because we're going to rest our starters. There's going to be nobody playing. We've already wrapped up the division. We'll be 5-1 in the division. We already wrapped up the division. We're not worried about it. So we're going to rest our starters, sit back, put some players out there that need some time going into the season. So since we're not going to put guys, I doubt even we put Marcus Mariota in there. We might have, somebody else in there playing, whether it's Booker or whoever it is. I mean, who's the quarterback we picked up this year? you know, I mean, whoever it is, you know, I know it's Marcus Mariota. He probably won't even play this next game, the last game of the year. So this will be a game where none of the starters play. It'll be all backups, and, you know, they'll get some time, deservedly so, in the season, you know. So they might lose this game, even though I think they might sweep it. But I'm just going to say a loss because we're not playing anybody. We're not going to risk getting anybody hurt. The starting offensive line won't be out there. This will be a day in which we can have a 2-week rest going into the playoffs.
Okay, so Barrett, you've got the Birds ending up at 13-4. What was it? 14 wins last season. And Barrett, when you predicted double-digit wins ahead of the season starting, people laughed at you. You were ridiculed. They said you.
I was a homer.
Yeah.
You drink too much Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But you just don't know.
But you know what, Barrett? You even undershot them then. So here's to hoping that at 13-4, you've once again undershot them and they even exceed those expectations.
Absolutely.
But we'll see what happens. Thank you for joining us for this live stream of the schedule reveal on this special streaming edition of Birds Huddle. We appreciate everyone for joining us and for drinking in what's mainly been a whole lot of optimism from Barrett Brooks. It'll be very interesting to see how this
a lot of thought
schedule plays out.
In the schedule. It's a lot of thought I put into it. So watch what I
A
tell
lot of thought
you.
you put into it on very short notice, Barrett.
Yes.
Consummate professional.
I don't know about short notice. I may have known a little bit about the schedule before.
He's an insider. Schefter's got nothing on him. Barrett Brooks, thank you very much.